What if our number one priority was actually to manage our value chain, not just our company? Let's think about that. What would it mean to interact with a value chain? In fact, most companies aren't able to do that in a systematic way because their functions are often not connected, or the way that their business interact with the market are often not as tightly integrated as they could be. Not to leave it to sourcing or purchasing relationships to guide our suppliers, and not to leave it to marketing to guide what we do in the market, but actually to systematically develop a management approach to our value chain. It would start by understanding the interactions across our value chain. What bonds people together? What is it in that sourcing negotiation, or in that recruitment interview, or in that sales meeting, or in that advertising that links back to the other things people experience when they interact, that builds one common position across a value chain? What would it be that could take control of that value chain in that way? Well, we have to understand the interactions well. We need a management tool that focuses people on the right thing regardless of where they are in the value chain. What we do is simplify that to say that at each interaction point, there's an internal and an external bias, whether it's experience or priority or loyalty, there's an internal or external bias, and an emotional and rational piece of that experience. Again, whether it's a sales meeting or an ad or a sourcing relationship. If we can put something in the middle of that, we call that a positioning strategy. You can think of it as clear purpose, direction that a company's taking. And if that direction, that purpose, is true, relevant, and high value to everyone across a value chain, they can work together to achieve it. So that's the idea of a positioning strategy. Once you understand that, once you understand the simple way of describing your purpose and direction, then you can start talking about optimizing a portfolio of brands to reflect that. A corporate brand could be unit brands, could be product brands, could be branded commitments. Then you can also develop cultural uniqueness. Not just a good company culture. Of course, industry leaders have strong culture, but they have cultural uniqueness, meaning that the cultural traits that people know them for, that when you meet their people, it's reflected in the way they do things, it directly relates to their positioning strategy. So it's cultural uniqueness. On the rational side of things, it's about operational evidence. What you find is that good companies do a lot of things right. But the best companies know which things to prioritize and lift up as the proof that they are who they say they are. They know how to pull those key metrics, those cases, those examples of their success and say this is why, because it links to our positioning strategy. And finally, there's the alignment of marketing, which in many ways is the easiest once you have these other things clear. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at industry leaders from that perspective. We call it a Quadric. And that Quadric framework helps us understand the differentiation of these companies, how they're building it over time, and in fact can be updated over time and see the changes. And it reveals a lot. So if we take Volvo, the value of human life, the idea of safety, it's always been at the center of what Volvo is doing, and pretty much in any market that's true. We've interviewed people, we've had people involved in our processes, thousands of people around the world, and their way they reflect on Volvo is incredibly consistent. They've been very conservative in the way they've managed their brand portfolio. They've been very conservative in the way they've not allowed their brand to change in a surprising way, the way they name their products, the structure they've used. They really are a conservative company in that sense. When you look at the culture, safety has been the most basic principle since their beginning. It's been a corporate value since the 30s, but in the 30s their founders also set out this as the single most important priority. They said safety must be the most basic principle in all design work. And that's the reason when you look behind Volvo and you see that they invented the three-point safety belt, the fact that when you pull it, it stops. If you don't put it on, it beeps. If you look out your mirror at the wide-angle rearview mirror, that's a Volvo innovation, and these innovations have spread throughout the industry. And today, as a star within the Ford group, they're setting the safety standards, the specifications, the systems development for all of the Ford brands. And that's really the heart of Volvo. And of course, when they market, they know how to connect with people that value human life, with families, with people with children, but also with people who aspire to have children. The idea of families building, they get that. They have places for children to play in their dealerships before other car companies would. But they also sponsor, in fact now really run the Whitbread, which is now called the Volvo Ocean Race. It's an around-the-world challenge, highly demanding, lives at risk, But with the right technology and preparedness, you can be safe even in the most adventurous conditions. So that's Volvo's challenge, in fact, is to make the value of human life a more exciting thing. But they'll never deviate from that focus on safety. That's the basis for their strategic differentiation. That's what allows them to drive volume and pricing of safety, new features, new cars that lift the bar in safety. That's what allows them to influence future trends so that the market is prepared for the next things they bring to market. And that's also what allows them to guide safety innovation, internally but also with their partners, tier 1, 2, 3 suppliers. When they innovate in the area of safety, they bring them to Volvo first, and that allows Volvo to have more first to market. So that's one story of a company that we're all familiar with, that is consistent globally, and that knows what they're about.